So I get this email from Jack Swift, and he's talking about an event that's supposed to come up on Monday. See, the new people have been elected into office. That would be Dave Daniel as sheriff. It would be Wally Hicks as legal counsel, the first time we've had a new one in 20 years, and Simon Hare being reelected for another 4 years. And there's some talk among people who question their government, which I think is part of the American tradition, though some people disagree. And they are saying, well, perhaps we'll stand out in front of the courthouse with a sign. It's not exactly my thing, but okay, good for you. And others have said, well, I want to be then there when Simon Hare takes the oath of office and mumble something about, yeah, right, do you mean it this time? Or just there to maybe, hold my nose or something. I'll be there with the camera, and you'll be there too. And so the thing that Jack Swift said in the email is, well, I'm going to paraphrase here. You don't want to be too critical of Simon Hare, because if Simon Hare were to be tossed out of office, why it would be the governor's responsibility to replace him. Ooh, it's the governor. What?
Yeah, and I personally don't understand the fear. I'm very impressed with Simon's ability to wax on lunkily about the ONC and stuff of that nature, but I don't think he's irreplaceable.
Well, the idea that you're going to warn other people that the governor could be involved. Wait a second. Why would anyone believe? Jack Swift is a local lawyer, and he's one of the people involved with politics and questioning this and making fun of that and etc. And why would a lawyer be telling people something which is completely false? And why do we know this completely false, that if Simon Hare were to be recalled, this is not going to happen, but if Simon Hare were to be recalled, that he would be replaced by the governor? Why do we know that's false?
Because we just had Sandy Casanelli recalled, and the governor didn't step in and choose her replacement. We had Harold Haugen there for about a year and a half. So, yeah, I don't see that as being an issue. However, it seems to me this is a scare tactic. It reminds me of when they said, well, if you don't vote to raise if you don't vote for the levy, then the state is going to come in and institute $3 a thousand taxes, and so I think it's along the same lines.
I just don't understand. I mean, there are a number of people with whom I agree a lot of the time, and not all the time. I don't agree with myself all the time. And why are they passing around information and people are debating about, well, yes, that's certainly true. How can this possibly be? How can you say it's certainly true when you were there when it happened before with Sandy Casanelli, and it's not even close to true? And how could anybody benefit from scaring everybody? Oh, don't say bad things about Simon Hare. And why would they want to?
Um, well, that's a good question. Maybe they just feel like we can't get along without Simon Hare. The odd thing is that they continue to do this, and it doesn't work. I think in the case of the taxes, the citizens said, well, I guess we'll roll those dice, and we didn't go for it. So you have a political class that thinks that taxes are the answer to everything, and that if we don't have that, then chaos will reign and there'll be blood in the streets and all of that. Now, we've had that threat a couple of times, and that never materialized. I know that there are more crime issues. There are problems that they are not able to deal with because they don't have facilities in place or money to pay for people to fill these particular slots. And so I understand that that causes a problem, but we didn't turn into the Wild West. So I don't know. Scare tactics. That's the. I think people who employ scare tactics don't have a lot of respect for the voting public.
When I was talking with what I refer to as the DOS group, that's Jim Dittmer, Ward Ockenden, and Jack Swift. I call it DOS because that stands for Disk Operating System, which is the old way that things used to operate within the computer. It's a little joke. Not everybody gets that.
Yeah, we're losing that reference pretty fast.
So the DOS group had originally suggested, back when there was some kind of, the last time we turned down a levy, the time before that, they'd suggested, well, how about if we make up a voter's pamphlet? It'll look like a voter's pamphlet. And people will think, hey, we're getting the voter's pamphlet, woohoo! But it will really be something that was written by this group, and people will read only things that agree with the point of view of this group. And I said, we can't do that. I mean, if you want to put out information about how you think you should vote, but you can't fake something, because that's using the tactics of the other side. That's not who we are. Well, apparently, for some people, that is who they are.
Yeah, well, you know, you have to be real careful about this we thing, because I've been in situations, and as a young man, I thought we in many cases, and it ended up being me and then them, you know. So I think you have to be careful about the we thing. There's many people who, if you're pursuing the election of a particular person or the pursuit of a certain goal, you may find people who are your allies in that, but I wouldn't necessarily believe that they're that they are your ideological soulmate.
Well, we've seen that a lot with people who felt so strongly about the sheriff. We need to talk about that at some point, where they were so lockstep with Gil Gilbertson that they just couldn't accept the fact that Dave Daniel would be elected. Now that he is, because they're such law enforcement fans, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we all should be, shouldn't we? That will they be able to find some kind of allegiance with the new sheriff? But I was talking about Simon here in particular, and when I met, the last time that I met with the DOS group, Dittmer, Ockenden, and Swift, I'd suggested, well, fellows, the recall of Cheryl Walker was coming up, and I said, well, why don't we leave it up to the public? And we'll have 3 sheets of paper, because the last thing that was done as a group was 4 sheets of paper, and that was about those junk ordinances, and people had to sign each of the 4. And I said, we'll have 3 of them, and then people can decide that they want to recall all 3 commissioners, or maybe only Cheryl, or maybe Cheryl and Simon. People are saying, I wish we had done that, or at least tried to, or none of them. And that gives the decision to the people. They hated that idea. No, no, we know what's better. Hey, wait a minute. If I want a small group of 3 people to tell me what to do, I'll go to a county commissioners meeting.
Right, and you know, I have a big problem with looking at the world through those lenses there, because obviously, I mean, I think what is a problem in the county and the state, the nation, etc., is that we have leaders that don't trust people. They are condescending in that way, that they do not believe that you have what it takes to make proper choices. And so their role is to make choices for you so you don't fall down and hurt yourself. Well, I personally think I like the idea of putting it up to a vote of let's choose who amongst them, because you know the chances are you're going to have people who have it in for a particular commissioner, and they're going to say I want to get rid of that guy. And listen, let it go that way. I mean, as it is, it was not successful trying to get rid of Cheryl Walker. So
There were some problems with gathering the signatures, that's true. And there was a very strong impact by the current county clerk, and that'll be a subject for a future story.
yes,
And that had a big effect on how things turned out. Well, to sort of put an end to this show, these are people. Simon Hare is going to take the oath of office, and two others are going to take the oath of office on Monday. And we've got some folks out there that are urging people not to make any fuss about it. And uh, I hear fifes and drums in the background saying it's part of our American heritage to make a fuss about such things without burning the place down. I'd say if people want to come and have a cross look on their face, Simon Hare, you didn't tell the truth last time. Great, that's democracy.
I agree. And there is one point that, I mean, this is very analogous to the situation in New York City, where the cops have turned their back on the mayor, and the mayor, is urging people, hey, you can't really do this. That's wrong for you to do that. I mean, it was fine when he was saying bad things about the cops, but now somehow it's not okay if these people, show some disrespect back to him. I think, all's fair.